At the corner of 8th and Cass Street in downtown Traverse City, you'll find the Old Town Playhouse, and this is the stage door. Welcome to Stage Door TC for 2014, the studio edition. I'm Don Kuehlhorn. We have a full show of information about the coming month at the Studio Theater and at the Playhouse. We have an audition, and we have a call for directors. We discuss the 2014-2015 Studio Theater season. And of course, we discuss all the ongoing events at the Playhouse. So let's not dally. We open with an interview with Scott Buffet, the director of Leaving Iowa. He's holding auditions this early April for that play.
Well, Don, thank you for having me out, and I want to say hi to Doc and the band, so it's good to be back.
That's right. Thank you, band. What a wonderful musical segue to introduce you.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. You haven't been with the Playhouse for quite a while.
It has been kind of a long absence, and I have been working with Riverside Shakespeare every summer. This will be our 15th year doing a Shakespeare production, so right. I've continued to be active with them, and I am on their board. But it has been a while since my schedule has allowed me to participate in something at the Old Town Playhouse.
Right.
For many years, I was a high school sports official. I did football and basketball, and those seasons kind of precluded me from unfortunately being available for some great shows
Sure.
that I got to see, but I didn't get a chance to be in.
Yeah, we played during the non-summer months, and so that's a lot of business for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Summer we don't play, but there's a lot of stuff, especially in the school system, that they don't work. Well, that's great. Great to have you back.
Good to be
back.
back.
Let's talk about what you're here. You're here because you're auditioning a show coming up, and when is the audition date?
The audition dates are March 31st and April 1st coming up. And I'm thinking back, I'm hoping those are correct, actually. That's the most important piece of information I can give you, and I'm hoping those are correct. Check with the Old Town Playhouse board down in the basement, the receptionist, to make sure that I'm correct about that.
Exactly.
Our show is called Leaving Iowa. It's a great, funny, touching show about a family in a car, is kind of the way to look at it. To give you a brief synopsis, the story revolves around a young man in his 30s or 40s who is coming back home to his family home in Iowa because his father has passed away. And so you're seeing the story during that real time where he's in his 30s, 40s and dealing with the death of his father. But you're also seeing the story in flashbacks going back to when he was 10 or 12. And the flashbacks all involve the family car trip. And so the car actually kind of becomes a character in and of itself, and all the things that happen in the car and the interaction in the car. And you do hear the line, "If you don't stop, I will pull this car over," a number of times.
That's great.
So, but the story flips back between the current time and the car trips and just the memories that come flooding back. So it's a very funny, very touching, very family-affirming show. And I got a chance to see it performed down in Chicago at Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf did it down there. And just fell in love with the show, and I knew I had to do it. I wanted to bring it up here, and I finally got the chance.
Now, what kind of a director are you? Are you a hands-on? Are you a way far away? Do you telephone in? Do you know what you are yet?
This is only my second show, so I guess the jury's still out on it. I guess in my mind, I probably fall more towards the hand-on in that I do want to be involved. I do want to talk to my actors about what they're thinking, what they're feeling, how they're approaching things. But I also, hopefully, as an actor, I want room to be able to explore, to take chances, and I definitely want to be a director that gives my actors that same kind of leverage. So whether that means I'm hands-off or hands-on, I don't know how to define it in those terms, but I want to work with people who want to, explore their characters and really put something into it, and I definitely want to give them the room to do that.
Okay. What What are you expecting at auditions? What kind of preparations will give somebody an edge to be selected by you?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm hoping that I get a wide range of people. I have some leeway in terms of what I can do with the ages of the characters. My idea for the characters are that the brother and sister would be in their 30s or 40s, and they of course are going to have to a very simple change to go back to childhood. The traditional way of doing it in the production I saw was the boy puts on a hat and now he's 10 again or 12, and then he takes off the hat and now he's 30 or 40, whatever that is.
Right.
And then I'd like to see about a 25 year gap in age between whatever we cast for the young boy, or the boy and the sister, brother and sister, between the parents.
Okay.
And there's some flex too in terms of what how they appear. In terms of what someone can do to, be more ready for the audition, boy, I think every actor has a different way of doing it. Some actors just come in, pick it up, and they read it the way they see it, and that's what they do it. And I know, people, professionals, they'll research and they'll go into it. I would encourage anyone who's really interested in this to go ahead and pick up a copy of the script down in the office and read through it, understand, some of the mechanics of the play in terms of the time change, how we're shifting back and forth between I say current time or modern time. This play, and I'm a little flexible on when it's set, it could be in the 70s, the 80s, 90s, I'm not too sure about that, but when the brother and sister are adults and when they're children, and how that switch is happening, understanding that would be helpful to anyone that wanted to audition. Let me explain the cast here real quick. We've got, in its bare bones form, this play has 6 characters. We can do it with as few as 6. By the way, I'm hoping to get a lot of people to come to audition, and I would have the ability to possibly do as many as 9 people in this show. There are the 4 family members, the brother and sister, who have to do their normal ages, their adult ages, and then would have to also be 8, 10, 12 years old when they're riding in the car. The parents, mom and dad. Dad kind of lives in the flashback age. He never really, we don't have to see him older. He always is in that range. It's one of the downsides of dying, I guess. But
right.
And the mom does go back, when the kids were young and today for the play, the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. So she goes back and forth. And then in addition to those 4 characters, we also have at least 2, a male and a female, who play a variety of different roles. And for me as an actor, this would be where I would have a lot of fun, right, because the male and the female have about 10 different characters that they need to play. An Amish person, a park ranger, a couple of different farmers and farmers' wives, a waitress, a mechanic. So as an actor, that would really be where I would have some fun in really trying to create this character that only exists in 2 or 3 pages of the play, but then they bring so much.
Right.
If you want to see an example of that, one of my favorite TV shows right now is called Mom, and there's an actor. His name's French Stewart, and you might know him from Third Rock from the Sun. I think he was, and he has a role in that new show called Mom, and we only see him, I think, 30 to 45 seconds every week. But when he's on screen during those 30 or 45 seconds, he just completely steals the whole thing. And that's the opportunity that any actor or actress would have to come in and maybe take one of those roles, is to just bring these oddball characters into these families' lives, these poor family that are broken down by the side of the road or lost and then they meet all these different people, and it's really a fun opportunity, and I'm looking forward to seeing what folks are going to be doing with that.
Okay.
And if I get a ton of people, which I'm hoping I do, I could take the 10 or 12 characters that each the man and the woman would play, and I could maybe split them up 6 and 6. I could do something like that. I don't have any preconceived notions about that.
Okay. So let's go back through the audition dates, it's March 31st and April 1st.
That is...
I know it is.
I'm kicking myself for not having looked at that on the way in with so many other things I'm trying to...
I was looking at it before just to make sure, and I saw in my the calendar I looked at, I saw April 1, and I'm thinking, well, there's always 2 dates. And then, March 31st, the other month.
If I got that right, it is a well, miracle is a strong word, but I got very lucky if I got those dates
and
right.
It's this is a studio show. We'll play it at the Depot. Where are you going to audition?
My understanding is that we have space here. I think we're going to be downstairs in what used to be the studio, the Schmuckel Auditorium. Yes.
Okay, we'll be there. What time?
We're probably going to do it. We'll post the times, but tentatively, I'd say 7 to 9.
Okay. Now, when you say 7 to 9, I ask this of every director. When you say 7 to 9, that means you start at 7. It's not the time to show up at 7.
Absolutely right. Let me also explain what my process would be for rehearsals. And I don't have a set time in my head right now for rehearsals. That's got to be. I've got to get input from the cast that I cast. I need to know what works for them. But whether it's 6 to 8 or 7 to 8:30 or 7:30 to 9:30, whatever we as a group decide is going to be our rehearsal time, I want them to be ready to start at let's just say 7 to 9. Then we need to be ready to start at 7. And I think it gets down to my respect for them as an actor and giving them that time, and their respect to me and to their other fellow actors to be ready to go. And to that end, one of the things that I talked to about, and we'll talk to about with my crew, is that if you have to talk to me as a director about costumes, about lighting, about staging, whatever you need to do, you do not have access to me between 7 and 9. I will be at the theater half an hour early for any technical questions, or if you as an actor have a question about something that you want to approach that's not on our rehearsal schedule, whatever the case, I will make myself available to them a half an hour before and a half an hour after our scheduled rehearsal time, so that I can deal with all of the other questions that go with putting on a production, so that when the clock hits 7, I'm available for them, I'm ready to go, they need to be ready to go for me. So I don't want to waste a lot of time. Oh, it's 7 o'clock, let's roll in here, let's stretch a little bit. No, I want to respect their time so that we can concentrate on what we need to do but at the rehearsal time. So I'm planning going into this to making my schedule flexible at the beginning and end of whatever rehearsal time, so that I can deal with technical things, I can deal with whatever else needs to be done.
Okay. Well, Scott Buffet, thank you very much for giving us some of your time now, and good luck in your auditions.
I really hope, thank you very much. I hope I see a bunch of people out there. This is a great, great show.
So do I. We discussed the main stage last month, and this month we have Phil Murphy and Brett Nichols, once again Phil Murphy, Executive Director, and Brett Nichols, the Chairperson for the Artistic Committee, who will tell us a little bit about the studio season. Now, usually we have 5 main stage and 4 studio shows. This year, or this coming season though, we have 5 studio shows. Brett, why?
The studio has been very successful, and this season in particular, people have been recognizing its value, the artistic value of the shows that we do in there, the intimacy of the venue. People have really been appreciating it, and we've had great turnouts, and people keep asking us for more, so we're going to give it to them.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's hear them. And now these dovetail to the main stage. So if there's a main stage that month, we do a studio show the next month between the two, typically.
Yeah.
In general.
There's just a slight overlap in this. Trying to manage an additional show meant pushing the schedule around a little bit.
Sure.
But it's not too bad. I think we realized it actually only impacted one main stage show.
It really only impacts one, and they're 2 completely different shows.
Yeah.
So
they appeal to different audience. Yeah. So we don't. It's not something we worry about in the larger scheme. What we have been trying to do is, with the studio, is to make sure that the shows that we're selecting are not so demanding in terms of design, sets, and size and scale because of the nature of the venue.
Now we call the studio, if we may, generally a black box.
Yeah.
What does that kind of mean?
Well, black box in the standard way of thinking is simply a box. I mean, a room with some chairs in it. Black box, nothing pretentious. You don't have a stage. You don't have all these sets. It's very simplified, minimalist, if you will. That's a simple way to describe it. It's a shorthand that I think among theater people is meaningful, not necessarily so much for an audience.
Okay.
I think when they consider what we do in the studio, it may tend to be edgier. We might do a classic there that we know wouldn't draw as well on the main stage, and we're going to do that next year. And then it's also just to do shows that we want to do that if we wait around until they get a shot at the main stage, we may never do them. As you may recall, Dancing at Lunasa.
Right.
For 20 years we talked about doing it. We've never done it because of that very same thing. It deserves the main stage, but it was never right for the main stage when we were prepared to bring it forward. And that's the kind of thing. So.
And there are shows that are just written, and they're better for that venue. There's a certain detachment when you have an audience, or you have a performers up on a stage, and you have your audience 4 or 5 feet below them watching up.
Right.
The beauty of the studio at the Depot, if you've not been there before, is the intimacy. You are right there with them, staring those performers in the eyes. If you're in the front row, oftentimes you're going to catch some of their spit. As somebody once said, very great orators, when they are out, they spit, and performers do that. And in the studio theater, you're right there with them, and the intimacy of that, and with the shows that we're putting forth right now, is what makes that place beautiful.
We have the titles for the studio season. Now, who can direct in the studio?
With the studio theater, anybody can apply to direct. We have a whole lot of new directors this season that we're currently in right now. We have some new directors directing in there, and it's kind of a place to get your feet wet. And it's not because it's easy. The shows that we select to direct in the studio are not easy to direct. No. But it's a smaller venue. You typically smaller casts, and as Phil mentioned earlier, smaller sets and less logistical issues to worry about. So it gives people a chance to get their feet wet with directing. It gives people a chance oftentimes to work with a mentor or a more seasoned director backing them up. And it also gives them a chance to kind of get to know each other. Something that's very important when you direct here. It's an all volunteer-based organization, so you really got to start pulling people in to try to work on your shows and help you out. And the smaller studio shows offer people that opportunity to get to know people.
So if you want to direct, but you haven't actually done it, you do have support from the Playhouse through the members, through the committees, through everything.
Absolutely.
So that if you want to and you can show the interest, you have a shot at becoming a director in the studio space.
And we have some very successful directors on the main stage now who started out with very successful shows in the studio, who at first knew nothing and nobody, and now they're doing some great shows upstairs.
I will say though, with that in mind, it is rare that one would just say, gee, I want to direct something in the theater.
Sure.
And then comes in. Most of the people have some experience within the theater. They've been acting or stage managing. Stage management is a good way to get your feet wet and to plan, especially if you have a desire to pursue directing at this level or any other level for that matter. Stage management is a key area to explore. So I would encourage anybody that's even thinking about it, make sure you get involved. Because even going into the studio, you need some chips.
Right.
You need some people who are willing and interested in working with you, and they have to get to know you. And one of the ways they get to know you is you come in, you volunteer, you help build the set, you work on a crew, you get cast in a walk-on part in a show, that kind of thing, so that people start to get to know you and feel confident and comfortable around you, and then you can take that next step, or if you're coming again, we have people with a great deal of experience who also choose and opt to direct in the studio because they get to do Waiting for Godot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get to do some stuff that they might not get a chance to do otherwise. So.
And lastly, how does one go about researching these plays so that one can apply? Do you have copies at the Playhouse? Where can we go?
Yes, yeah, we maintain perusal copies of each of the shows. So anybody that would have an interest is more than welcome to stop by the office. And we don't have them ready for next season quite yet, but they will be shortly, probably in early March. They'll be available for someone to come in, and they can put down a deposit, take out a script, and then we expect it to come back. Or they're more than welcome to sit in our library and read.
And when are applications for directors due?
The official call for applications hasn't gone out quite yet because we're waiting to make sure that we have shows, and I think we're pretty solid. We'll get it out, but typically we'll give 30 to 45 days or so. We like to get them in early. We like to start interviewing our directors by April, because in June, again this year, we're going to do a mass director-producer meeting with everybody in the artistic community to start doling out information. So we typically like to do that in June, do our interviews in April, so it's going to be coming out very soon.
Okay.
We're very excited to be opening the studio with Waiting for Godot, which, if you're familiar, it's currently running on Broadway right now with Patrick Stewart and
Ian
McKellen doing very well on Broadway. It's a show for 4 men, wandering travelers out waiting for a gentleman by the name of Mr. Godot, whom they believe is going to change their lives forever for the better. And as these 2 gentlemen wait, 2 other travelers come along, and it just kind of follows their adventures. And it's very funny, it's very heartwarming, and it's a great show. Very good show. That performs
Classic
in September.
Of the absurd theater.
It is indeed. It is indeed. That performs in September, and it auditions in July.
Okay.
And then we are going on to a comedy called On the Verge, and that has a larger cast. Good roles for 3 women, for 5 men, a yeti, a troll, and a psychic. So, yeah, On the Verge, and I'll let Phil describe that one a little bit.
It's, well, the 3 women are adventuresses.
From the Victorian age.
From the Victorian period, who end up time traveling. It's very funny. It's very insightful. Written by Eric Overmyer back in the 80s. 1980s, that is.
Yeah.
You know, that could be, you know,
Any 80s.
Any 80s. But had a big, strong life back then for a while. But I don't see it being done as often, although it does pop up. I was just looking at a version recently. And it's very funny. Good, strong women's roles, something we always need.
Okay.
And
Waiting for Godot and On the Verge. What's next in line?
Next in line is Dead Ringer in February, and Dead Ringer auditions in December. It's a 19th century Wild West kind of murder mystery show. Very funny, very entertaining, and it's perfect for the studio theater.
Film noir
Film
western.
Noir. Yep.
Go figure. It came out, I guess, just about a year or so ago, and we saw it, in one of the new play announcements, and it interested some of our artistic committee members, and so I got a copy, and it kind of carried on. We weren't able to put it in this season, so we started thinking about it for next season, and everybody liked it. 3 characters, 2 men and a woman. You never see the woman. She's
trapped in a basement.
She's trapped, and it's hard to explain, but it's quite funny. Quite funny.
Okay. Next.
The next one is nice and edgy. I love it. It's some things you need to know before the world ends, and it's a final evening with the Illuminati. 2 men.
Can you say that with one breath?
I see. You have to after you read it enough times. 2 men. It performs in April, and it auditions in February. And essentially, God, how would you describe that?
Let's put it this way. If you're easily offended, if you're offended by anything, don't come see this show. This is the one, if it really, it pokes at everything.
Unless you like to be challenged.
Well, yeah, no. I think
and-
that people are going to love it,
Yeah.
and there's an audience out there that will just adore this piece. But it really, it doesn't mince its way through anything.
If any shows cause the picket signs in front of the theater this season, it's going to be this
The
one. So
Illuminati.
if you want to know more, come and see it or research it a little bit. It's a beautiful show. It's very well written, but it will challenge you.
Okay.
It will
And
definitely
it's had a couple of performances in competition these last few years as community theaters have been competing at state, regional, and national levels. Illuminati has shown up in a number of regions.
Wow.
So it's got a lot of appeal.
Sure. Well, I'm laughing already. So what's next?
Next, and rounding out the season for the studio, is a comedy called 4,000 Miles.
We had 5, right?
This
That
is
was
the
5.
fifth.
Yeah,
That
we
was
did
the fifth.
Waiting for Godot, On the Verge.
Verge.
Oh,
Dinger,
okay.
So,
All right.
Illuminati, and then 4,000
My bad.
Miles.
That's fine. Okay.
4,000 Miles.
4,000 miles.
That pushes a little bit later than what we usually go, but that runs in May, touches May into June.
Okay.
And it auditions in March. It has a role for 1 male and 3 females. Gentleman goes on a cross-country trek and runs into some tragedy during that, and ends up spending some time with his grandmother. And,
Quality time.
Quality time with his grandmother, and it kind of follows that storyline and what
she
they discover.
The hook to it is that she was an activist in the 60s. She's now like 85, 90 years old, but she was really out there in all throughout the 20th century, especially through the 60s, and active and politically, and he's kind of conservative. He's coming at it as a young man in a very different place.
Well, now, Brett Nichols and Phil Murphy, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Don.
Don.
Good on Paper, the Old Town Playhouse Improv Group, continues its comedy run Saturdays, April 12th and 26th. They play through May, so you better hurry if you'd like to see them. Tickets $5 with free sticky buns and coffee. Doors open at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday evening, and the show starts at 11 o'clock. Seats go fast, so I'm just letting you know. The Young Company is in rehearsal for Treasure Island, which performs in June. We'll give you some information, times and dates on that next month. Also, they are enrolling summer classes now. If you have or are a young actor interested in learning more about the theater craft, the summer classes are the place to be. Contact the Young Company office for more information. I spoke about the new Age to Perfection offering, Page to Stage. Well, it happens again, first of every month. This month, Phil Murphy will discuss directing techniques. The date for this is April 4th, 11 a.m. in the Studio Theater in the Schmuckel Auditorium downstairs at the Playhouse. You are advised to bring a lunch. And of course, the regular meeting is 10 a.m. Saturday sessions. They will continue on April 12th. So, and that's 10 a.m. in the Schmuckel Theater. Well, that's it for this edition of Stage Door TC for April 2014. If you want current information about things we discussed here or updates, look on oldtownplayhouse.com. If you have concerns, questions, or suggestions for Stage Door TC, send us an email at stagedoortc@gmail.com. The music was provided by Creative Commons. And this was created for Up North TV by producer Don Kuehlhorn. That's me. Have a great month.